In today's video, I want to theorize how to train using a fictional martial art called the Hexadic weapons martial art from the Record of the 10 Weapons Demon from the webtoon Infinite Leveling Murim. Before I begin, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe and follow me on my social medias as well. It follows the MC Nettson, whose goal is to beat the Heavenly Demon, and so I'm going to cover both his training regimen and what the weapons technique is. So the technique itself allows you to use 10 weapons simultaneously. Now this is impossible, as you can't hold all these weapons at the same time, even less use them effectively. So one of the names is called Asura, which is fitting for it, as Asuras are described as having multiple arms. In any case, to start, you have to build a physical foundation like the MC, who is persistent on endurance, which along with a system allows him to compete with the top competitors of the world. First is a general regiment to build strength and cardio, which I've covered multiple times in different videos, though in this version, there are already a lot of cardio exercises that's going to be listed, both for variety and for hitting different muscle groups, so you can rotate them. For strength, however, barbell exercises, add heavy weights, and accessories to both assist in progression of said heavy weights and or for preventing injuries. I have other videos on the topic like I mentioned, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. You should also check out videos like from Jeff Nippard or Starting Strength to give you some idea. Now here are some of the exercises that he does and some additions to help you out. You can see him do copious amounts of duck walks, an exercise meant to build lower body endurance, hitting the hip flexors, calves, and glutes. It is also a cardiovascular exercise when done for long periods of time, and again is good for muscular endurance in the legs. Now with this exercise and any exercise in general that is new to you, you want to start off slow so you don't overtax yourself or even worse, injure yourself. And then as you become more comfortable, you can increase the frequency. Another lower body exercise that he does, though not as frequently shown, is a variance of a horse stance in the beginning of the webtoon. He has a bucket with water on his head and a stick he holds up while in this stance. You, however, can start with a regular stance, allowing you to work on muscular endurance without the cardio aspect of duck walking. It works mobility, stability, both the adductors and abductors, and more. And for more information, you can watch this video on the Pioneer talking about horse stance benefits. Now this is an add-on, he doesn't do this, but I thought it would be interesting to try xoxo, an exercise performed by sumo wrestlers where from a deep squat-like position, they raise one leg up, hold it for a couple of seconds, and drop it down. It works leg strength, flexibility, stability, and is low impact according to Wild Warrior Nutrition, and there is also a great video on its benefits, which I will link as well. For his upper body, there are scenes of him doing wood chopping with axes. This is a compound exercise hitting a lot of muscles, building strength, but is also a cardio exercise and also builds hand-to-eye coordination, etc. It's also useful to him in particular, as an axe is one of the multiple weapons that he uses. Now everyone can't go out and chop wood, so some alternatives could be using dumbbells or cables to mimic the movement, or my preference, which is using a sledgehammer and a tire, where you attack it in a specific motion. Now some of the movements of an axe chopping may be omitted, but then you can also add an Indian/Persian club training to it as well, making sure that the hammer is a reasonable weight for you to move around without hurting yourself. Another upper body exercise that he does is push-ups, with one scene where he does handstand push-ups with like weights on his wrists. This of course is a very advanced movement. You can just start with regular push-ups at first and work your way up. There's also a scene where he carries an old man on his back who is actually, spoiler, a master in disguise, who is able to increase his weight repeatedly while on Netson's back. This can be imitated through rucking, which I have mentioned in previous videos, where you walk with a weighted backpack, which is another endurance and cardio exercise that also builds strength. Now something to keep in mind when doing this is that if you're hitting the same area with both the weight training and these endurance exercises, it may lengthen the soreness and delay your recovery, especially if they're new to you. So it may be better, at first at least, to do an upper day with the weights and hit the lower body, or vice versa, or separate them by different days. Now let's get into the combat method, which is him somehow using like 10 different weapons all at the same time, which of course, as I mentioned, impossible. You can, however, use multiple weapons, like a weapon in each hand, and then have another 2 or 3 weapons on you that are inactive. So the number could be less or more depending on what the tools you're using. You know, if it's heavy, if it's long, if it's small, depending on the factors. For example, you can have a sword in each hand, like Miyamoto Musashi, or you can have a spear and shield, but then you can add an axe to the shield hand and then switch to the axe after throwing away the spear. But even in this case, though you're holding quote-unquote 3 weapons, if you include the shield, the 3rd weapon does not become active till you throw another one away. Nonetheless, in my opinion, the concept of training multiple weapons is very useful, as for one, it allows you to have more options in a fight. Number 2, it makes you unpredictable, very chaotic. Number 3, it lets you better adapt to different scenarios. So for a small space, something like a staff may not be the best weapon, but a sword or even a dagger, if you get close quarters, might be. As for the training methodology, the webtoon itself does not go into any specifics, so I have to make it up myself. However, from a theoretical aspect, it's pretty straightforward by training a variety of weapons individually at first to get comfortable with them, and then moving to practicing them together, learning to transition from weapon to weapon. Like for example, the spear and shield with the axe, which is a short from Marcus Vance, who explains that it was a Viking tactic used against knights. It's important to test the different weapons in multiple spars to number 1, see the effectiveness of them when using together, learning to switch or maneuver to the weapons that you may have, and what are the best ways to hold them and position them when you have multiple weapons on you. You may find a video that I made on Sokka's training, which goes into some core concepts, though it's specific to the sword, which you may find interesting. As for the training tools themselves, for some affordable choices on different weapons, a PVC pipe for a club or staff, a buckler shield on Amazon for a shield, a machete for a bladed weapon, and a hunting knife for daggers. Of course, for training purposes, a lot of these things are dangerous, so you can get a training version of each weapon of the items for relatively cheap. It may be a little more expensive, a little less, depending on when and where you get them from. Also make sure to have proper safety gear when practicing. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like and subscribe, and support the channel if you wish by hitting the join button for $2.99 a month.